How did you know what your gender was? When did you really know you were a boy or a girl? Do you remember? And did you ever feel like things didn't match up, like your body was wrong, that it should be the other gender? This certainly isn't very common, feeling confused about your gender identity, though we're certainly becoming more aware of transgender issues as society in general has become somewhat more tolerant of these types of differences. And you'll watch several videos about transgender individuals to hear their stories and to learn more about their struggles and experiences. But the material that will most likely be relevant for you in this chapter is differential gender socialization. And this is what you should write your journal on, unless of course you actually have experienced gender identity concerns. Basically, what we'll be covering first is all about how boys and girls are treated differently from birth. Yes, and even from before birth sometimes if the parents find out the sex of the baby. Do you buy blue or pink sheets for the baby's room? Do you buy blue or pink newborn clothes? Do you imagine playing with trucks and blocks with your child when they grow up? Or do you imagine princess tea parties and painted nails? The sex of a child changes how people interact with them based on personal ideas about what's appropriate and good for boys versus girls. It's almost impossible to avoid exposing a child to ideas about gender roles and stereotypes because almost all of children's stuff is highly gendered. Luckily, the colors yellow and green are apparently neutral, so very young children's clothing can be neutral with things like ducks or caterpillars. But once they're out of the newborn stage, there's a boys section for clothes and a girls section for clothes. And there's a boys section for toys and a girls section for toys. And yes, there are neutral toys, but almost all of Toys R Us and other similar stores are either blue or pink. So when you're working through this chapter, I really want you to think about your own experiences. But if possible, talk to your parents about this. Ask them how they felt when they found out your gender. What did they think about buying you clothes or toys that were highly gendered? Did they get pressure from their own parents, your grandparents, to raise you in a certain way that was appropriate for your gender? Grandparents always have a lot of advice. See if they have any stories about you wanting to play with toys that were for the other gender. What happened? How did they feel about it? You've probably never explicitly had a conversation with your parents about the choices they made with regards to your gender. What toys you got for your birthday or for Christmas, what Halloween costumes you were allowed to wear, what clothes you could wear, what sports or activities you could join. But I'm sure you'll find it interesting, and it might help you better understand a lot of your own ideas about gender. After all, we learn a lot about gender roles and stereotypes from our parents and friends.